Hello and welcome to Tech Talk. I am your host Jas, and today we are diving into a truly exciting topic, which is emerging trends in data and AI for business leaders. In today's digital economy, data and AI are super important in driving business innovations and efficiency. So, as AI technologies evolve and data becomes increasingly integral to business operations, understanding the latest trends is crucial for any of the business leader. So today we will explore cutting edge developments in AI, applications and data integration strategies, and how businesses should leverage these technologies to gain competitive edge. So today we are joined by Mamta Suri, a renowned leader in tech industry with a rich background at companies like Oracle, Workday, DocuSign, and Varian. And she is currently the founder of podcast AI Unfiltered. So as a tech leader and startup advisor, Mamta has been recognized as one of the women who inspire us, an inspirational woman in STEM and tech. We are thrilled to have her insights on our today's show. Welcome to Tech Talk, Mamta. It's truly great to have you here with us today.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you just for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation.
So let's start at the beginning of your impressive career. You have worked with some of the biggest giants in tech, Oracle, Workday, DocuSign, Varian. So what drew you into the world of technology and especially into the field of AI and technical leadership?
Yeah, so I was actually pre-med when I started in college. So this is a very interesting journey that even I didn't know I was going to take. I was a pre-med student, and then in college, when I was volunteering at emergency room, I decided that I'm a very empathetic person, so I wasn't able to keep what I was seeing separate. And I knew that I have a lot of respect of doctors, but this is not something I could do. And then I was taking some computer science courses as elective, and those were always fun to me. So I decided to pursue more of that. And then I wanted to do both. And at that time, um, there wasn't bioinformatics or computational biologies for undergrad. So I decided, I went to my counselor. I said, I still like what I'm doing. So my major was molecular cellular developmental biology. And then I said, I also want to do computer science. So I wanted to do a
Wow.
double. Let's see how we can make it happen. So I did that. I ended up doing a double. And because of that, I got to work with PhD students and professors because at that time, the human genome sequencing was going on. So UCSC was a big part of that as well. So I got to work on those projects.
What is the year you're talking about?
So I don't want to age myself, but this is like 1998, 99. So that's when I was doing my undergrad. Uh, and this is, although it was a long time ago, it just seems like yesterday. And then from there, I went on to Varian because I wanted to still combine the two experiences, the biology and computer science. So Varian was perfect for that because it was a medical instruments company. I worked on the imaging software. So I was working on those MRI machines that you see in the hospitals. And I was working on the imaging software, and I also were some of our projects dealt with the FDA requirements. So I was working at very low level on Unix for those audit requirements. And I was there for 5 years, and I wanted to do something different. And I took a complete pivot and went to Oracle in the identity and security products. And this was something very different from what I had done before, but it was such a fun journey. And that's where I transitioned to people leader. And this is before Okta came along and SSO was a common word. We were developing those identity management and access management products. And from there, I was there in Oracle for 8 years. And then I'm like, okay, let's do something else. And I went to Workday and completely different because I was hired to re-architect and re-implement their community platform, the Workday community platform from ground up. It was customer facing in Oracle. I was in the middleware team. This was customer facing. I had internal customers as well as external customers. I started with just a 3-person team, and I was coming from a pretty big team from Oracle. I all owned all different aspects of the Workday engineering team, including the DevOps. And this was a very interesting journey. That we built the team, we rebuilt the Workday community platform, and then I went to another team within Workday, the time tracking team, and that was really, really exciting journey as well, where I helped uh, the time tracking product grow from 1,200 customers to over 3,000 customers. And then most recently, I was in DocuSign. So I was in Workday for about 7.5 years. Then I went to DocuSign, and where it was their signing platform signing team. That was the first team. And then I was also helping build a new product, which is the automated obligation management system. So overall, if I look back, it's been, a pretty interesting journey from where I started, where I am. And why I'm interested in AI is because I've always been interested in ethics in science and technology. So in college, in UCSC, I was actually part of this organization called Pugwash, which was actually started by Albert Einstein long time ago, because we've been having with Oppenheimer coming on, we know about the dilemmas and ethics that we have to, because any technology can be used for good or bad. So, having interest in ethics in science and technology, I've worked on some AI and ML projects throughout my career. And then the reason I've also recently started a podcast, which is called AI Unfiltered. And the reason I started that podcast is because there is a lot of hype on what AI is, what it can do. So I wanted to separate the hype from the actual use cases. So just like we are having this conversation, I think it's very important to have this conversation and talk about the actual use cases and the actual risks that come along with these technologies, because AI is something that is accelerating so fast. I have never seen any technology accelerate
Yeah.
at this speed.
I think we are going to discuss all of that in our
Okay.
further discussion today. And by the way, it's a powerful motivator and impressive journey of yours. And speaking of the impact, you have also been recognized as a source of inspiration for women in STEM. And can you share what it means to you to hold such titles, Women Who Inspire Us and Women in STEM and Tech?
I think it's just humbling. So when I see myself, I still have all of the so I mentor other women and even kids in high school. So I still have same insecurities as everyone else has. I still have the imposter syndrome. Even when I started this podcast, I had the same, like, who am I to talk about these things? There are much smarter people than me who can, talk about these things. But then I feel like everyone has a voice. So my motivation has always been that all of us can do something, and if all of us just take that one step, we can, help someone. Even if it's one person, it's good enough.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've gotten messages on LinkedIn from people in really small countries, in even Pakistan, and really, developing countries, where there are like war zones right now, and just saying that, hey, I read about this and I'm really inspired. I had no idea like I could do that. So more than these titles, when I get an email or a note, even a one liner from someone like that, that they continue to study because of something I said or something I did, and they continue to even pursue, because like, girls in computer science, we really, need to have more kids in even technology to begin with. So that's like really, really heartwarming to me. So I'm just, I think all of us are here, like, you're doing your part, you're having this conversation, you're trying to provide this knowledge to others. So as long as we just keep providing what we know, so my goal is always to share the information. So all of the things I have learned the hard way as a leader, as a woman, Other people don't have to do that. And then my other goal is that, I have a daughter. So when she gets to the working world, she doesn't have to deal with all of the things. Because sometimes I think about, like, is this really 2024? And we're still hearing about, oh, first woman in this got hired and then first woman in that. So when I think about that, I'm like, I hope my daughter doesn't have to, or the kids in next generation don't have to deal with these things.
Thank you for taking all of those initiatives. And yeah, let's go ahead and deep dive onto our today's topic, which is emerging trends and data and AI for business leaders. And to start with, let's start with AI powered automation. I know that it's not something very new, it has been there with us from decades, but let's talk more about it and taking certain examples. So let me provide simple examples. Like in healthcare, AI is nowadays being used to streamline the admin tasks like scheduling, billing, and which is helping to free up the staff to focus more on the patient care.
Mhm.
And I think in a lot of other industries as well, the automation is being started, and this kind of automation is not only improving the customer satisfaction, it is also giving some kind of accuracy and efficiency, right, to the overall business process. So I would like to understand from you more on how the businesses are leveraging this AI powered automation and to transform their operation. And also, if you can share some of the examples which are kind of lesser known in the ecosystem now, would be really great.
Yeah, sure. So AI is everywhere in all of the industries that where we can optimize and make things efficient. So as you mentioned in drug discovery, it's really, really powerful, right? Because now we can actually get through all of that data, churn that data, look at the protein models, and get to the different combinations really quickly. Similarly, so medicine, drug discovery, education, manufacturing, supply chain, technology we already know. So, like, I think at this point, like, I cannot think of an industry where this is not the case. And to get more specific into like the different use cases, it could be simple, as we've already seen, customer service chatbots. And the chatbots have been there for a while, and people were not very happy with it. And I don't know if it's still, I'm still not very happy with all of the chatbots that customer service have over there, because there was there was one account I had, and this was for crypto. I won't name one of the companies, but they have, to file, I forgot my password, and I had to recover it. All of the, they had a chatbot, and it was going in a circle. So the chatbot would point me to a website, the website would point me to a chatbot.
Mhm.
So what I'm getting at is, yes, the use cases are there, but they may not be very useful. So people are just, the companies are optimizing, thinking it's taking care of that. And we, heard all of these studies that, oh, the chatbots they had, they're able to do 70% of the customer service. But I would say, actually ask your customers, is the customer satisfaction the same? It may not be. So there are use cases everywhere, and some of the actually lesser known use cases I'm very impressed with are things like Make, Retool, Zapier, where you can actually combine some of the things you already have instead of just coming up with new things. And you can optimize your workflows. You can optimize your social media posting. You can optimize. So, just to take an example, you can use Make or Retool or any of Zapier, any of these automation workflow tools, and you can have all of your articles, like say you subscribe to some RSS feeds, it can automatically look at all of the articles, and you can have specific queries that I'm only interested in these things. So if you see, then it can send you an email that, hey, these are the latest news on this specific thing, because again, there's going to be a lot of noise. It can also help you even post your social media posts. So, like schedule this post at this time to these different accounts, and you can use AI to even modify it because Twitter will only use 120 characters. LinkedIn is again different format. Facebook might be different format. YouTube will be different. So you can even use any of the AI tools that we already have, OpenAI Cloud, uh, Gemini, any of those, and then you can have your blogs modify those what you're trying to post, and then it can post it at certain times. It can even schedule it on a recurring schedule, and you can do the same thing for your companies. Like you have processes where you need to remind employees a certain thing every week. And then you need the data for that. Like, hey, here are the bug reports for this week. You can have it go to Jira, or any other bug tool that you already have. Look at all of the bug reports since last time. You can also have it look at just customer reported bugs with the priority. It can email it to your team. It can also send status reports. So there are a lot of other use cases, which I'm finding very, very useful. And I'm actually optimizing some of my own workflows.
That's amazing. That's very thorough and in-depth discussion and detail you have mentioned. So another point which is really catching on is predictive analytics, right? So
Mhm.
uh, again, in recent times, this predictive analytics market has grown so much, and everybody is talking about it. And this can be easily done by applying some solutions around it. So by efficiently utilizing the predictive analytics, business can really make informed decisions. They can reduce the risks. They can easily find out the opportunities or recognize the opportunities for their market growth. And one of the primary drivers is definitely our data, which we are going to talk further. And from your side, I would like to understand that how our businesses in different other sectors are using predictive analytics and gaining a competitive edge, and what should leaders consider before actually implementing these analytics.
Yeah, so predictive analytics is definitely a game changer. And I would say that I've even worked in predictive modeling. This is not, as you mentioned, something new, but now we just have more tools. Like, we did not have all of these LLM and models to work with
Right.
before. So each of the companies had their own models that they were using, and it was very costly. So cost is, it's pretty reasonable right now. And there's a lot of data. That's the other thing. There is good and bad about it, but there's a lot of data. But definitely we can use it in all of the different industries, right? We already mentioned the drug discovery. We can predict the different molecules, different protein structure. We can get new drugs. We can also use it for personalized marketing. Amazon had been doing it for a while, where it looks at hey, you might also, other customers are buying this, so you may want to look at that. And also the recommending products based on their past purchases. But now even the smaller shops can try to use that, right? It's earlier it used to be very expensive, and now with all of this technology and these models being available to everyone, any of the smaller Shopify shops or any other,
Yeah, the small
even on
size market can, yeah, utilize
yeah,
the
like
solution and build the solution without actually putting a lot of cost in that.
Yeah, like even if you're a small Etsy seller, right? You can look at all of the data. What kind of customers do you have? When do they buy it? What is the most, and sometimes you don't even know the question. So you say, hey, here is the data, and help me figure out these things. When can I sell more? So predictive analytics is become very, it's always been useful, but it's become very reachable that anyone can use it. And we should definitely be, it's used in all of the different places. It's used in manufacturing. It's used in, you know, uh, create like predicting what could be the potential failures in certain machinery. So in HR, we've already been using it to look at the turnover rate, to look at the certain characteristics of how we are doing in terms of diversity, and in terms of talent, how we need to be upskilling based on what our roadmap is. And so those are some of the examples. Finance and banking, you can use it for risk management and fraud detection. For energy and utilities, you can use it to predict your bill and cost cutting and savings. And, like entertainment, like Netflix has been using it. Like all of the bigger companies have been already using it. One thing I do want to add is it is very reachable and anyone can use it, but we have to make sure we are using the right data. So I said there is a lot of data, it's good and bad. So if the data is not good to begin with, your predictive analysis is not going to be very good either. If there are biases in there, it's also going to show up in your conclusions and your models that you're using to predict certain behavior. So make sure that the data is good. There's ethics and privacy concerns, and there's a lot, that we need to make sure that data is clean as well.
Thanks for talking about the market size of predictive analytics and talking about that now everybody can use it, so reachable, right? So I have a very interesting fact here, which I have noted down and would like just to read out. So global predictive analytics market size was valued around 14.3 billion in 2022, and it is projected to grow from USD 17, almost 17 billion in 23 to 84 billion by 2031. So if you see, it's a massive growth, which is around 20% over the forecasted period. So that's amazing, and how reachable it is, and every house will have something or the other related to, or some solutions related to predictive analytics solution. Yeah, that's I was also amazed to see this fact, so I thought it's good to share. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the other thing which is really trending and which is creating a buzz in the market is integrating AI with IoT. So IoT is, again, it's nothing new. I mean, since my childhood, I've been listening to all the smart things are happening. So nowadays, it is getting integrated, highly integrated with AI. And some of the examples are like smart hospitals. They are using IoT sensors, which are combining with AI to monitor patients in real time and predicting their health risk in the real time. So, would you like to discuss more on some innovative ways the companies are combining AI with IoT to create, smarter environments, and what does it means for business in the future?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good use cases here, and we are just starting. We're just scratching the surface right now.
Yeah.
We already have, like, it used to be that each device was separate. For example, when Nest came along, so it could only sense the heating and cooling. And then we had smart plugs where you didn't need it to buy special equipment, but then all of the lights and stuff you had, you can plug it with your smart plugs. And now we have AI on top of it. So it's amazing. Like now we're
From
like,
smart to it's becoming smarter. So
it's becoming smarter, and it's also collecting a lot of data.
yeah, that's
So
the
we
point.
have devices in our homes that are on all the time, and they're just so that's a privacy concern also. We need to take into consideration. But there's a lot of good use cases as well. So we can have smart cities, so that when they're managing traffic, where there's public safety issues, where there's congestion, it can automatically detect. There could be sensors, and then we can have much better flow. And we can also then have predictive analytics on top of it on what can we do to improve this. Healthcare, you already mentioned, the hospitals are using it in a really good way. Similarly, we can have it for supply chain to make sure that the supply chain logistics. There's a lot of different use cases. Can we do it to make sure that there are no delays if the items are being shipped on this ocean? Then using it to predict or using it to even detect like the weather patterns and making some decisions on based on that and navigating routes accordingly. And then we can use it in agriculture. So and in India, actually, this is already happening where AI is being used for the sensor, the IoT sensors, to monitor the soil conditions and crop health. And then AI analyzes this data. Then you can optimize the irrigation. You can get the right amount of the fertilizers. And especially if it's organic, then you can have ways on how you want to mitigate any of the pests that are coming along without using pesticides.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty interesting actually. And this has got my attention as well. I saw that there is an app, and you just have to scan, you just have to download the app and you scan your plant, and it will tell you what is missing. And that you just have
yeah,
to add that. And I was like literally amazed. It has got, I do not know the name of that. I do not remember the name of the app on top of my mind, but it's so amazing that any kind of
mhm,
plant you have, you just have to scan it and show the picture, and it'll show that yeah, it is growing good, what is going to be the life expectancy, and
mhm.
if it is turning yellow or it is not growing well, it'll tell you to add customized, fertilizer. It'll tell you add banana leaves or whatever it is. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
reaching the heights actually. All right, so again, AI role in enhancing customer experience, so which we have already discussed, but would like to have your thoughts more on this. uh, so AI's role in enhancing customer experience is something many businesses leaders
Mhm.
are excited about now. So we see some kind of personalization, and the personalization which was happening like 5 years or 6 years back, they are now completely evolved, and a different level of personalization is happening. For example, and if you see health monitoring apps, they provide different personalized fitness and wellness plans. It's like
Mhm.
you have a trainer just next to you. So, how can smaller businesses implement AI to achieve similar results? And any specific strategy or tools do you recommend, or what's the best way to go ahead with?
Yeah. So, there's a lot of companies which say that we'll get a chatbot set up for you
Hmm.
like in a day, right? And even bigger companies which have offered these services. So yes, that is definitely available. But then I'll go back to saying that even generalizing this question a little bit more, how can smaller companies make sure that they are AI ready? They're using AI in the way to optimize their businesses, their processes, so that they can get, you know, definitely better bottom line. That's what all of the businesses want.
Yeah.
And so, one thing I would like to say is have your use cases defined, right? So, one example is yes, you can get an AI to do the interviewing and hiring and even scanning the resumes. Those tools are available now. But if you're hiring just once a year, is it worth it? So, you have to look at the use cases where it makes sense. And then you also have to look at the return on investment. What is the cost and what is the return on investment? So the use cases where you're doing something repeatedly over and over, customer service is a great example, then can we automate that? Yes, we can definitely have a chatbot. It can scan, these AI tools can help you look at all of the documentation that already exists and do it in such a fast way. It could be a really great knowledge base for your customer representatives that can then answer the queries. But I would like to say that still have a human in the loop, because the AI is again a program. It can only answer what's in the documents. So if it goes anywhere outside of that, it will not be able to help. So whether it's a 1-800 number, it's an email, or it's a person who can come on the phone right away or on the chat right away, it's really, really helpful. And I've seen that when you combine the two, it's actually very powerful. I'm okay these days just giving basic information so that AI can process it. And then when I say I really need to talk to someone because I'm having this very unique problem, then as long as there's a human who can help me, even if not at that moment, they can get back to me, that's useful. So for smaller businesses, it's important to define what are the use cases, what is the return on investment, and what is, again, the privacy and ethics. So there is also compliance and regulations you have to follow. So if you're using a tool, if you're not developing it yourself, you're using a tool, then how is that data being used? Let's say you have a chat bot for customer service and it's collecting information like, hey, what is your phone number? What is your home address? What is your date of birth? And how is that data going to be protected? Are you sending this data to the third party now? And what happens if there's a man in the middle attack? How are you keeping that secure? So these are the things we need to think about. So it's good to know about the service agreement, the terms and conditions of the tools you're using. So when you're doing these cost comparisons, it's not just the pricing in money that you're spending. There is the money, definitely, you have to consider that. There is the time you're spending, because now you have to also train your people on what are the new processes. So there's a training cost. And then there is also a privacy and these unseen and unheard costs
Mhm.
that most of the time it'll be okay. But if there's an issue, your reputation will be tarnished.
Right.
So we all are aware of CrowdStrike and what that happened. So in a case a hacker does get into it, how do you keep this information secure?
Mhm.
Are you, like, some of these things are the things we were asking when we're sending data to the cloud. Hey, is it what are the terms and conditions? Is it in a private tenant? Is it in a shared tenant? And how can we keep these services so that only my service has access to this and no one else can get access to that? So those are the few things that we need to consider. So what are the use cases? What is the cost? What is the return on investment? What is the compliance and regulations around it? And these are changing. And then how are you going to protect the data that you're dealing with?
Yeah, that's a very well said. And I think protecting of data and security of data is extremely important, which we are going to talk more in our next question. So, moving on to another question, which is again very important, which is related to the data quality. And for any of the AI initiative, data is important. And there is so much of data
Mhm.
nowadays that protection of data, we have good data, we have bad data. I mean, it's enormous, right? And we have heard a lot of stories of AI systems making poor decisions because they were trained on some kind of biased or inaccurate data.
Yeah.
So, for example, in healthcare, inaccurate patient data can really ruin everything, right? Incorrect diagnosis and or incorrect treatment plans. So, it is in some of the industries, if the data is not good or if it is biased or incorrect, it can really
Mhm.
it's a matter of life or death. So, it's that
Yeah.
crucial. So, how
Yeah.
can businesses ensure that data quality is up to par, and what steps they should take to really maintain it?
Yeah, that is very, very key, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because as you're implementing either your own models or your own AI tools, or you're using some, it applies to all. And another example I'd like to give is that recently we have seen all of these, the models coming in, they're taking back some of the features because
Right.
they didn't think about the edge cases. But this is nothing new. Even in, I think, 2000 something, 2005 or something, I will say, Google came, Google Photos. So, I mean,
Mhm.
AI has been around for a
Yeah,
while, which
right
just
now.
was not a very, very popular term at that time. So, how do they recognize the photos, right? You can put the faces and it recognizes in all of the photos. I love it because then I get pictures of my kids in different ages and it's really good. But in 2005, there was a feature where, the African American people were categorized as gorillas.
Oh,
And to immediately fix it, do you know what Google did? They just removed the whole gorillas from it. Of course, they did the long-term fix. And in 2016, or I could be getting these dates backwards, uh, Amazon had a resume scanning AI, and it really, when the results came out, the AI was favoring male
Yeah,
resumes over female resumes.
this is something I have
And
already heard of it, and it's pretty annoying.
yeah, and I think, although we don't hear it now that often, I think that's still happening, because if there's biases in the system today in humans, that biases are going to show up in the data. Right now, we still don't have women equality all the way, pay equality. So how can AI is just a program? How can we expect it to be that? So then coming back to the question, what are the things that we can do? I think this needs to happen at three levels. So there needs to be policies and regulations at the government level, and it's still catching up because this is moving so fast. So there's already some playbook and some guidelines available that help you. And it's also on my website, mamtasuri.com. You can, there's a link on AI governance. So there's already some policies that are available from US, from EU, from UN, and they're still changing, they're evolving. So you have to keep up with that. There is also some tools that are now coming available, so there are two issues to it. One is that we have to make sure the data. So here I like to use a juicer analogy. So just because we create a drink in juicer doesn't mean it's healthy. If we put fruits and veggies in it and blend it, and yes, it's a healthy drink if you have a lot of green veggies in it. If you put a tons of sugar and then chocolate sauce in it, just because it came out of blender doesn't mean it's healthy. So same thing goes with the data. If you put garbage in, garbage out. So if you have biases in your data, it is going to show up in your models, right? And as you mentioned, in some cases, it's life-threatening. Um, and in some cases, it's like also ruining, like if now AI, more and more companies are using it, AI resume scanner tools. And if we have no visibility into what kind of data that these now tools are being trained on, and if they already have biases, then yeah, it's just going to get more and more, it has cascading and dominoes effect down the road. And the other problem we're getting at is now we're running out of data to train these models on. That's another issue. And another, if you see the news, that's another, like now they're like scraping each other's websites, all of these companies, to get the data. So there's a lot of different things. So coming back to my point, and that it needs to be done at three levels. So one is the government level, the legislations, the laws, and those are evolving. The second thing is at the company level. At a company level, and as a small business, like we talked about, you need to be making sure that you're protecting the data that you're using, if your customers are trusting you with it, if your employees are trusting you with it, and you're also making sure that if anything happens, how do you keep it isolated? So make sure that you have the proper firewalls, you have the proper containerization or networking in place to make sure that if any, like we're seeing prompting injections now, just like we were seeing SQL injections. So if any of those attacks happen, then how do you keep isolated so that it doesn't become something like CrowdStrike, where the world just comes to a standstill? And then the third thing is at an individual level. As individuals, we also need to be asking these questions, especially if you're parents. You also need to be teaching it to your kids what data they're sharing. And now this data is being shared over and over again for training their models. One example I'll give you is that there are apps now and tools or websites where you upload your selfies and it gives you a professional looking picture. And some of them are free, which is great. The results are great. But do you know how they will be using your pictures? It becomes part of their data, and it will maybe stay there forever. So nothing on internet is all ever gone. So you need to be educating yourself. You need to be asking questions as a human being, as a citizen, as a parent, and you also need to be teaching it to your kids. So three levels: government, companies and as a person.
Yeah, so I wonder what's going to happen to our kids. Everybody's talking about AI and what is the reverse effect it is creating. Maybe I'll have another session with you to talk more on that aspect that, yeah, everything is good. Things
Mhm.
are getting automated, lives are getting easier, but what is the negative impact of it and how we are going
Mhm.
to deal with it? And the impact is not now. Maybe it will come after a decade or so
Yeah.
when, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
start compromising our health and environment and nature and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming into the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great discussion. I think the more of these discussions we have, the more, it's good for everyone to listen and think about the technologies that we're using from all different angles. So it's been very good experience for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So stay tuned for more exciting discussions and deep dives into the latest tech innovations on future episodes of TeqTalk. Until then, bye bye.